Welcome to Kate Was Here, an improvised storytelling experiment written and performed by Doug Banks and Kat Blackard. To support this and other surprise RPG experiences, head to patreon.com/omniversemedia.
So when we last left off, it was November 24th, 20,160 BC. You and Doc were standing on top of, not a mountain peak per se, but definitely like a hill valley mountain, by the ravine. And you weren't sure about where you were. You had a pretty good idea of where you were.
Hill Valley, mountain, ravine.
Yeah.
Pick some topography, Doug.
Yeah. Well, no, a mountain that's on the ravine. It leads down. You can see it leads down.
I know.
But it's you had just seen woolly mammoths come out of the tree line and marching down to where it appears to be a river and sort of an open plain area. Because even though this looks like it could be the ravine, it doesn't seem like the ravine that you know, because this is over 20,000 years before what you're used to seeing. And Doc was, shocked at this and just confirming what he already saw with the time circuits and knowing that the hypothesis that you had an influence on the time circuits this entire time would explain all of the weird glitches that have been happening with the time circuits, because you have been through so many different flux dispersal fields of varying types from varying different machines, the only human probably to have done so. It would account for a lot of the strangeness that's happening. And so Einstein's up there too, just sitting there. He seems to be taking it all in stride, all things considered.
Why not? So many new things to smell.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of snow right now. I think unless he were to come snout to snout, or at least get within smelling range of some of these big things, then it would be a problem. But right now it's mostly just, ankle deep snow and
Sure.
And stuff in the surrounding areas. So you do see that down where these mammoths are slowly making their way, it does turn into sort of a more tundra area with a little bit of grass and stuff. So it's not completely snow covered the entire way.
Well, there was a blizzard,
Mm-hmm.
and it's past, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Because this is later in the day.
Yeah.
You're getting closer. Not later in the day per se. It's later in the morning, I would say. Not quite noon.
Well, I guess, I feel like maybe Doc needs time to decompress, to figure things out, but it's fucking cold.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm...
I'll say your jacket is keeping you surprisingly warm.
I mean, it is 21st century technology.
Right. Your face is exposed.
Beyond my own.
Yeah, your face is exposed, your hands are exposed, your pants are keeping you pretty warm, and your jacket is very warm. But your hands and face are definitely chilly, but I don't think you don't feel like you're in danger of immediate frostbite because you had the cave scenario and everything else set up.
Well, Doc, level with me here. Is the time that we shoot for and the time that we end up at, is that something that's going to get worse? Or am I just, chronal roulette?
Well, judging by the dates that we've been putting in, it seems to be completely random in the ways that it affects the time circuits. Before, it just changed the destination slightly, and then when we thought we were in 2046, we were actually in 2049, but also the month and day and even hour were 3 additional units above what we had targeted for, but now this is an inverse for what we had targeted for. So it would seem to me that it seems to be a scrambling of a different way every single time, and unfortunately it looks like your flux dispersal field is having an effect on it.
Right. Well, that seems extremely dangerous.
Yes.
Do you think that's part of what's bent me outside of time in regards to, there being 2 of me?
I would assume so. The fact that, the fact that there'd be 2 of you would suggest that there was never a version of you that stepped into the time chamber in the first place to send you back to 1986. And if that never happened, then you never would have left. But the reason why you, the Kate in front of me, have not disappeared is because of that flux dispersal field. according to the things that I know about temporal mechanics, my hypothesis would have been that you would have disappeared, and that Kate would have gone on living her life, having never been the wiser. But because of the different fields that you have surrounded yourself with and have traveled through, you are an anomaly in the time stream.
Yeah. You know, I never got into Doctor Who, but maybe I'm like a Time Lord. Yeah. But we have to. I mean, sorry, we have to.
Alien from another planet. That's I don't see the connection.
I mean, just like the words, time, whatever. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I'm
like,
a doctor.
Right, and I am Kate, Lord of Time. It bends to me, but not in any way I want it to. Okay.
I'm just saying, if anyone's a Time Lord, it would be me. I'm a doctor. I travel through time.
We can both be. Sorry. I'll just. Yeah, whatever.
Can you just let him have this, please?
Yeah, fine. No, that's fine. That's fine. So is this like static electricity that I need to discharge somehow?
I don't think that's the case. I think is the. I did use the phrase of static electricity in the sense of a electrical field, but it's not electrical, it's temporal. That would be surrounding you. I don't know of a way to discharge it, but I know that really the problem is that it's having an influence on the flux capacitor, well, not the flux capacitor, but the time circuits, and we have to find a way to insulate them, but I know of no way to insulate them with the natural elements that are around us. If I was in a different time,
what qualifies as insulation, aside from like woolly mammoth blubber?
Well, that would be insulation from heat, but I mean...
I get it. I don't know what we're talking about, so please explain it to me.
It would be similar to an electrical field. I'd have to create some kind of electrical field around one that could insulate itself from the influence of a temporal displacement field. I had always assumed that being inside the DeLorean, with the stainless steel body around it, it would be contained inside its own dispersal field, but I had never considered the possibility that a dispersal field would be inside that dispersal field, and... well, frankly, that just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I suppose that there's two paths here. One is you leave me behind and go fix it and come right back. And two is we get back in the DeLorean and see where the time roulette takes us, and maybe it's okay, and we just keep jumping and filling up the Mr. Fusion and jumping until it works.
I think that would be extremely dangerous.
Oh, why?
The last time we jumped somewhere, we didn't. We even knew we were going into the future. We thought it was 2046.
Stupid question.
And well, we were shot down, and we ended up in a blizzard. Thankfully, we could land quickly with seemingly no damage to the time vehicle, but you could imagine, what if we ended up in a hurricane, in a tornado, at any point in time, especially if it's random. I think it's better if we stick to areas of time that we know.
Well then, unless you want to tour this particular moment in prehistory, which maybe you do. We haven't done any real time tourism yet in earnest, but otherwise, I mean, you do what you got to do, Doc. I'm cold, but if you come right back, it will be like nothing happened. So
that's an excellent example of fourth dimensional thinking. I appreciate your flexibility and understanding of this situation.
This is my life now.
Well, in that case, let's check on the DeLorean, see if we can get it going. So he'll start leading back down the way. And you just look at this. It would otherwise be a beautiful morning,
very
nice. Very picturesque, untouched.
Fucking cold, but it's very nice.
Yeah. And as you head back down to
the air smells so clean.
I can imagine. It seems there's a part of you that senses that it's really quiet, but it's not because you're on the top of a mountain. You hear the wind, you can hear birds kind of off in the distance. Sound is carrying very well. You can even hear the mammoths kind of hooting a little bit off in the distance, and just you hear snow falling. You hear trees. Everything seems very normal. There's no sound. I mean, other than obviously a woolly mammoth, but it sounds pretty much like you'd expect it to sound. Nothing really sounds is unsettling, but there is a little undercurrent of something that's unsettling, which is just that you can't put your finger on it, but you're like, I hear all these sounds, but it still sounds quiet. And then a part of you might think that, well, maybe this is because there's no traffic. There's no airplanes above us. There's no people nearby. There's no, it's so untouched by humans.
Hey, man, I was in the Girl Scouts. I've been camping. The whole world is a campground now.
But have you ever, but the idea being, even in the Girl Scouts, there was always airplanes overhead. There was always radio signals. There was always something going on. This is so far removed from any of that. It's almost like a privilege, but also intimidating at the same time. So with that, you can head back down to the DeLorean, and as you get down there, you can see that although Doc had been in and out of it a little bit in the morning, snow had gotten up like around mid-tire height, where it would, like, if the doors had been left open at night, snow surely would have been piled up in, like, all throughout the inside. But as he's going through, things look okay on the inside. The windows have, like, frost over on the out, like, you know, all on the outside. And he's going to try to start the car, but it's not really going. And he'll like step out and say, well, the time circuits work, flux capacitor works. We do need to refill the Mr. Fusion, and I think we're gonna have to thaw the engine. I think we're gonna have to maybe get a fire going, warm it up a little bit from the underside, and then we should be okay.
I can do that. I can do fires. Wait, do we have? Did you pack, like, survival stuff in the DeLorean at all, or?
I do, but I don't think this will be hot enough to melt the engine, at least not quickly. I think the less time we're here, the better. So if we can get a fire going, I think this will happen much faster. Plus, if we're using that to heat up the DeLorean, we're not using it to heat up ourselves.
Okay. I'm not seeing any signs of human life in the horizon. There's no other smoke from fires out there.
No. And, do you say this to Doc, or are you just saying?
Yeah, I'm saying it aloud. But should we be concerned about attracting attention from possible, like, humans who will not be able to be reasoned with?
Well, my prehistory of Hill Valley is a little spotty, but it's my understanding that humans may not have arrived in North America until about 14,000 BC. We are currently in past 20,000 BC, so I think we have about 8,000 years or so before humans start to show up.
That sounds great to me. I think. I don't know. Okay, cool. Well then, Einstein and I'll go gather some wood.
That sounds fine. In the meantime, I'm going to keep the heater on inside the cave in case we get too cold. I'm going to start digging out some of the snow from underneath the vehicle so we can get some heat going. So he'll get to work on that, and you can head down with Einstein. You can head down to sort of like where the trees are going to start to get more into a grassy area, almost certainly where there's going to be branches, and there's a nice little river cutting through.
Before I go anywhere, given, prehistory,
sure,
there are woolly mammoths. There could also be saber-toothed felines or who knows what else. So I'm gonna take a look at Doc's survival material, if there's if there's like a flare gun or something,
sure.
or I'm gonna take my backpack, and I'm going to, I guess, do we still have walkies from like 19? We wouldn't have. That was a different Doc ago.
You didn't buy walkie-talkies when you were in 2016?
Well, I bought a cell phone, but
right.
I don't remember. Do we have, like, I don't know if we have communication devices that don't rely on satellites or other technology, but maybe they're better than satellites in alternate reality 2016.
I would imagine that you'd have walkie-talkies. Because that's something Doc would think of, I would think. So I don't think that's out of the question.
Okay, cool. Well, okay, I've got a walkie. I've got my my backpack with my camera. Mostly empty though, because I want to put wood in that backpack and such. So yeah, I'm ready for something to go wrong.
Sure.
As it often does.
So when you say you're ready for something to go wrong, all we know for sure is that you talked about a walkie-talkie, an empty backpack, and your camera.
And a flare gun.
And a flare gun. Okay.
And I mean, let's see. Is there like a survival hatchet or something I could use if I need to like, make logs smaller?
I would say, yeah, he's probably got like a little, like a multi-tool, but it's a futuristic multi-tool that has like, it's almost like an oversized Swiss Army knife, where you can pull out. There is like a hatchet that's good enough for chopping up stuff. It would take you a very long time to chop down a tree, but I know you're not. I know you're not. Yeah. But as far as like smaller branches and things, yeah, there's something that could easily do that.
Cool. All right, futuristic multi-tool, flare gun, camera, backpack. Do we have any snacks in there?
Maybe there's some like futuristic granola bars. You can grab a handful of those.
Okay, cool. I'm eating one as I go because it's morning and I'm hungry.
Sure.
And hopefully we fed Einstein something.
I'm sure he's had. I'm sure he's had something by now.
Okay. Yeah. Well then, roll for log checks.
Yeah. Well, I'll say If the most. Yeah. Go ahead if you want to give me. Let's see what would be a good skill to have you roll for that. I'd say maybe clever.
Okay. I got 2.
Okay. You can sense that by the way you can see that the way the trees are, and there's a lot of snow piled up pretty high, like the higher up that we are, like on this, again, not necessarily mountain, but it's definitely a very big hill, like that where the cave would be in. As you can work your way down, you see closer down towards the river where there's less and less snow. It looks like some more of the branches may have fallen because some of the snow hitting the higher branches and falling and everything like that. So that you think that's your best bet. Plus, it's also probably one of the more comfortable spots where it's a little bit more open and you can see further without having to trudge through things. So you can slowly start to head down that way. So as you're making your way down, it's almost feeling a little bit warmer because there's less wind going, and the sun is out, and you can hear like birds and things. It's starting to sound a little bit more closer to normal, and you're getting the sense that it's like, yeah, this is definitely nature. Like you're feeling for a moment you're a little bit more in your element than what you were feeling before, because like you said, as a scout, like this is becoming slightly more familiar the further down you go.
And if I see anything interesting, like cool prehistoric ferns dripping with icicles or anything like that, I'm taking photos.
Plenty of that to go around. And you eventually make your way down to like where the river is. It's moving really slowly. It's like a nice place to get something to drink. Einstein's just going to casually go over to the river and he's going to start drinking it up because it looks.
Why not?
Yeah.
There's no pollutant.
Yeah, there's. I mean, the only thing would be animal poo, maybe, but it's not. It looks totally clean. This is like glacier. This is the type of thing that they would advertise.
Right? Yeah.
Like if they're advertising mountain spring water or whatever, this is like the real deal. I will say though, as Einstein is down there just sort of getting his fill of some water, you look up and not too far from where you are, far enough where you don't feel threatened. You see a large, it's an animal that you're not familiar with, but it's like a buffalo, except it's bigger than any American buffalo that you may have seen pictures of. It's a little bit taller, it's a little bit beefier, it's got like a lot of fuzzy fur like going down its back, down its like spinal column. But the real standout feature of this buffalo bison animal is the horns that just go straight out away from its head in the opposite directions. It doesn't curl up. It doesn't tip up like a steer.
I played Magic the Gathering once upon a time. I know an aurochs when I see one.
But the size of the horns on this thing, it has to be like 8 feet from like tip to tip. So it's a big one, right? And it has like maybe a family with it of like maybe 5 or 6 other ones that are like it of various sizes. But it's sort of like watching, like looking around, goes down, takes some sips, and the other bison, buffalo, if you will, they'll come over and they start drinking something from the river.
I say to Einstein, "Be cool, man."
It seems that they're far enough away where they haven't noticed you yet, or if they have noticed you, they don't really seem.
But if he fucking chases these motherfuckers, we can't. That is not good.
I'll say if you
they got +1 to trample.
Well, I'll put this: they're on the opposite side of the river from where you are.
Okay, great.
And the river is only maybe. I don't know. This is a small river. It's really not much. It's almost like a creek, because it's, I'd say, maybe 5 feet, maybe it's between 5 to 8 feet wide. On certain parts, it narrows and things like that. It's not really deep at all. You could walk through it like up to your shins, and just the nice river rocks underneath it and everything.
I'm gonna take a sip of this water too, because I'm like,
It looks good.
this just to say I did
Yeah.
to myself, because no one else is.
I'll say you probably also have a canteen with you, and it's part of the survival gear if you wanted to fill it up.
Cool,
But,
yeah, sure, why not?
I mean, if all goes well, you're going to be spending less than an hour here anyway. So, but fuck it,
I'll take all the souvenirs I can, and I'm definitely taking photos of those aurochs.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and take a photo, we can do that. But you don't. I'm not going to. If depending on just for funsies, let's just say that the quality of the photo is going to be based on how well you roll, but you do have like a perfect shot skill.
Am I rolling perfect shot or
Yeah.
as a stunt?
Yeah.
Okay, so no modifier. Just see what.
Because how does this work? If you use the stunt, it's like a plus. It's an automatic plus to your roll.
It's been a time. I do not remember.
Let's say, roll your sneaky.
Okay.
And I don't remember how the thing is supposed to go, but
I mean, I think with stunts, it might just be that you can just do it, but it's like a daily or something.
yeah. But I remember the perfect shot got you a bonus when you were trying to fire a weapon.
It's true. Well, I don't know. Rolling.
Yeah. Well, let's see what the sneaky's like.
The sneaky unadulterated is 1.
Okay. In that case, I'll say, Einstein's just kind of watching, because they're far enough away that it's not. Again, you don't feel like there's danger of them charging you per se. But I will say that as you're lining up a shot, Einstein gets really quiet, and you line it up, and you see they're all down there, poking their nose into the river, and the big one, with the big horns, he'll look up, and he just happens to kind of look in your direction. So you're like, click, got it. But with the one in terms of sneaky, it definitely seems to see you, but it's not. It's just kind of it's not like it's going to attack. It's not like it's going to run away. It's just kind of the hell is that? It doesn't even. It's you've never seen an expression like this before on a cow of just what the hell? And it's staring, and a couple of the others will look up in that same direction. But I will say, because the sneak was not great, but it wasn't a complete failure.
Also, I don't mind if I have their attention, so long as they're not coming at me.
Sure, they're not coming at you. They seem kind of frozen in place, like they're listening and watching. But as you look at them, you're like, oh, this is maybe an opportunity for another shot. You zoom in a little bit more to get a cool expression on the face. That's when you realize they're not looking directly at you.
Piss.
And when you realize they're not looking directly at you, they're looking a little bit past you, off to the side. It would be off to your left a little bit. And that's when you're like, okay, I'm worried now. Is there anything you'd like to do, or is this?
I would like to very slowly, very carefully turn around, and I've got my camera ready.
Mm-hmm.
And just in case it's something I need to surprise, I flip up the flash.
Okay. As you turn and look, you're not far from the tree line, and you're looking, and you don't seem to see much at first, but you're looking very carefully through the trees. And you do eventually spot what looks like a large cat, like a saber-toothed cat. It is not looking at you. It's looking its face is not. It's not facing you at all. It's facing these buffalo.
Right.
But it is a little too close for your comfort.
Okay.
And it's not. It is laser locked on them.
Okay.
But I think if you wanted to either. You're not really feeling cool with moving, but you definitely don't feel safe.
Yeah, I'm gonna push the flash down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to very discreetly, because we're not moving right now, we're waiting to see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Take a photo of the saber-toothed cat.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm going to gesture with Aini that we're going to very carefully step to the side away from that line between the cat and the buffalo.
Okay.
And see if we can just excuse ourselves from this forthcoming bloodbath.
Okay. As you so do you want to actually start moving? I mean, now you're signaling to Aini.
Yes, I do. And I want to use sneaky to get away, as well as to assess the situation as to whether or not this is a solo hunter or if we've got some. I mean, I know it's uncommon. I don't know paleontology or whatever the.
I don't think anyone knows the real hunting habits.
Yeah, so like, let's make sure that there's not a group, and I'm not about to get like raptored here.
Okay.
The result is 2.
So Einstein's with you, and you start to like move back and move away, and you notice the saber-toothed cat is like moving, it's on its haunches ready to go, and the buffalo, for lack of a better description, are like sort of like they thought they saw something, but they don't see anything. They're about to go back to it, and as soon as you see the head come back down, this thing bolts out from the trees and it goes through the water, splashes through the water really quick, jumps up, lands on the back of that head buffalo, and just like with claws on either side, and teeth starts to sink in, and the other ones panic, and they start to trample and go away. They're going like opposite direction from where you are. But also out from the tree line, further down, away from where you were, closer to that herd, another saber-toothed cat just runs out. Same thing. They're definitely tackling the big one here. And it's like raptors taking down a T-Rex from Jurassic Park, right? Like this is, they're getting on the back, and it's moving its big horns, and they've latched onto the back of its neck where the horns can't quite, like get to it, and it's putting up a fight.
So I should point out that as this is happening, and I'm backing away, as soon as it starts happening, like I'm taking photos, like as it's going down. We have good lighting here, so I can shoot at a high speed. So I'm gonna hope that I can spray and pray to get something decent here. Also, of course, I'm not an idiot. I don't need these photos that bad. So I am definitely like getting like behind a tree out of the way, getting Einstein with me, but like my finger's on the button.
Sure. And you can it's just snapping away as this is happening. If you try to leave and get behind a tree, Einstein's with you, and he seems really scared now because your tension went up, and these big things have jumped out. And it's worth noting that these saber-toothed cats are bigger than tigers you've seen at the zoo. I mean, like the top of their head probably comes up to like your lower neck, like the top of your chest. So definitely, you're making your way back up and away. You see a total of 3. You see like the big cat, medium cat, slightly smaller cat, still very large, have all tackled this thing, and they're just wrestling it to the ground, and eventually it's done. It appears like they may have it's just either gave up or whatever. But
I'm not necessarily going to wait for them to finish.
Yeah, no, but they take it down. They've got this one. He's not getting away, and the other buffalo have run. So if you're going sort of up into the trees, I guess to sort of get out of sight or whatever.
And back the way I came, kind of. How am I doing for wood right now?
You didn't get anything yet.
I didn't get anything yet.
This,
awesome.
This has really been quick. But I'll say that as you're going to say, like, all right, we're trying not to draw attention to ourselves. Be cool, like whatever. You can start. The unfortunate thing is that you're going to be in the snow. Like now, it's sort of like up to shin level again.
Right.
So if you want to start looking through and see where some twigs and stuff are pointing up, you can actually start to collect now that you're moving away from the water where most of these animals.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get a very reasonable distance, but of course stay near trees because that's where wood comes from. And this log had a child.
So yeah, I'd say going throughout, Einstein stays with you. Every once in a while, he picks up his head as if he's hearing a weird sound, but he's just being like kind of a dog about it,
Sure. Well, I'm paying attention to him because I don't want to.
He doesn't. He's alert, but not on alert. If that makes sense.
Yeah, he didn't do an awesome job of figuring out the cats.
This is a weird time to be a dog. Like, he's like I'm a sheepdog. Like, I don't know. I've never smelled a saber-toothed cat before. But yeah, he's definitely sticking close to you and looking around, but seems very unsure of himself. But I'll say you take your time getting twigs and branches of various sizes. There's a couple you probably have to cut because you don't want to bring back a giant, branch or whatever. But
yeah,
you feel pretty confident. And you can see that the saber-toothed cats down by the water. You have like a football field distance at least between you at this point, and they either never saw you, but they probably did. They're just probably ignoring you, and they're focused on their meal.
Right. What do they need a weird little like horse for? Because I'm the size of a prehistoric horse.
Yeah. Or like a spider monkey, that they've never seen before, or like a weird, an emaciated sloth.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't. Yeah.
So I'll say you can get your fill in the bag of a bunch of stuff, and it's just interesting to you that like these trees, it's like the trees are like almost exactly the same. Like the animals are weird and different. The landscape is familiar, but this is not what it's supposed to look like where you're from. But at least trees look similar. You know, at least the trees in the sky look like familiar to everything.
Yeah. So I'll fill like what I can in the backpack and like strap it up so it's can like it's doing a decent job of actually like holding these things.
Sure.
And then also whatever I can carry under my arms. I guess arms singular because I do want to be able to like have a hand free to like shoot if I need to.
Sure.
Or grab something else for that matter. And we probably don't need that much, but we'll see.
Yeah. So yeah, with that you can start to head back up to the cave. Doc has dug out everything around the DeLorean, like the snow has been pulled away. It doesn't look safe to drive anywhere, but like as long as you can get the flying circuits thawed and the engine thawed, there's nothing to stop you from taking off from this spot.
Cool. Okay. Well, I plop down the wood and say, "Hey, Doc, you want to see something crazy?"
I feel like we've seen a lot of crazy things, but sure. What do you have? Did you find something?
Check this out. So I sit on the hood and start showing him like all the sequences of Sabretooth attack,
like in sequence.
Yeah.
And I think this might be the first time he's seen your camera have this feature. So I think it's blowing his freaking mind. He's seen the future, so he's seen a lot of stuff. But the fact that you have like this thing in sequence, like almost like a stop motion. Click, 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 like a zoetrope of of like the thing attack. He's like, this is incredible. Like he's completely in awe and is amazed by it. And he's like, I don't know who we could ever show these to, but my goodness, this is amazing.
Some future time where like chronal exploration is a high art form.
Well, I'd say that. I don't know what the future is like. I don't know much about 2016, but if this was back in 1985, I'd say you definitely have a future with the National Geographic. This is you have a really great eye for this. Do you do wildlife photography normally, or what is your specialty? I didn't even think to ask.
I'm a photographer.
But what do you still life, wildlife? Do you do landscape? What is portraits? I don't.
Shopping malls.
Shopping malls?
No, sort of. It's like my work is about the juxtaposition of urban decay with the natural world.
And he just kind of gives he gives an amused but bewildered look, just sort of, oh, all right. He just like, he wasn't prepared for that answer. Was thinking more of like, oh yeah, like traditional, like Ansel Adams, like, So like he'll like, all right, well help me out here. So he'll start to take up some of the wood, slide some of them around, like not directly under the car. You don't want to light a fire under the car, but definitely like around the hood, trying to get this going. And yeah, he'll like light a small fire, and they'll slowly catch, and you can see over a few minutes the ice starts to thaw around the outside of like around the fender and everything like that. So this plan this is going to work. It's just a matter of time. So you just have maybe a few more minutes before he's going to start trying the vehicle again. So he'll say, Kate, so if the plan is for me to leave you behind, it'll only be for a minute or so, from your perspective. But when I do come back, where should we go? I know the plan was originally we were going to go back to 2016, and try and prevent this terrible apocalypse from happening, as well as hopefully helping Marty's family.
I don't see why that plan would change.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got to fix the future. That's any opportunity to avoid the apocalypse. I feel like we've, for reasons that you don't know, we've done it once before, and this one's even worse. So let's do it again.
This is all right. Well, while you were headed back into Hill Valley in 2049, I tried to get as much information as I could about this disaster from the townsfolk there, and I have some ideas on what may have led to it and what we might be able to do to prevent it. I know we're just two people, but I think if we're careful enough, we can alter things very slightly so that the outcome can be avoided altogether. At the same time, I feel that the less I tell you about it, the better, because I know that it will affect your timeline.
Doc, I don't feel like I have a timeline anymore. I mean, like, realistically, I don't see... I mean, maybe we can, like, disperse the field around me at some point, and somehow, like, I fuse the other Kate, which I don't really want.
I don't... even if we were to diffuse the temporal field surrounding you, I can't imagine a version where you would become that other Kate. I think you will be your own individual from here on out.
If that's the case, I don't see any reason why you can't tell me everything. I feel like we gotta be on the same page about everything that we can be at this point. Obviously, there's stuff you've asked me not to tell you about what I've done to get to this point, which is fine. If ever you want to know, I think it's probably fine. We've been through a lot already, but I don't have, like, I've already seen the future and it's bad. I don't have a timeline. I don't know what you're protecting me from, or the world for that matter.
I'll simply say some of the technology that we have witnessed in 2016 most likely should not exist, based on my hypothesis.
Wait, what? You mean, like, the 2016 that we jumped to, that's not my 2016, has technology in it that you feel actively makes no sense, implying that there's some kind of other timeline influence that's happened here?
No. What I mean by that is I believe there is some bits of technology in 2016, as I know it, and as you currently know it, that may be a direct contributing factor to the apocalypse.
Oh, okay. Well, sure, Mr. Fusion.
Mr. Fusion obviously being one, but we can't change... there are certain things we can't change, because if we change the existence of Mr. Fusion...
We don't have a DeLorean.
We don't have a DeLorean. We would be stranded. So there will be some tricky things. I still have to do some more research and figure out what exactly... how these things may tie together. I know there are several other things that people had mentioned, that they have their own theories on the contributing factors, but this will take time to research. But I have a couple places where I know I would like to begin looking once we get to 2016. But I feel like before we take action to prevent the apocalypse, such action would also change 2016. I feel. So I would like to maybe take care of Marty's family first, and then take whatever action necessary in our own prospective timelines to prevent the apocalypse.
Sure, I see what you're saying. Like, we can't solve Marty's problem without upending everything that we understand about... Like, if we upend the reality of 2016 to protect the future, we make the situation with Marty that much more difficult because it changes everything.
Unforeseen consequences beyond that we can imagine. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
But understanding how we can fix the situation with Marty's family may also affect how we can decide to fix the larger problem.
Right. Soft test run of manipulating the future.
Exactly. So with that, he's going to check out the DeLorean. He's giving it like a once over. It seems to be okay. He's going to give it a try. And this time it works. So it is good to go. He says, all right, well, Kate, I'm just going to take Einstein and head back to 2016, make the adjustments to the time circuits, and come right back, and it should be no more than 60 seconds for you. But I'm going to leave the heater on over here in the cave, and even though you're starting to see this attitude from him that is like, Well, like I don't know why, but the first example I thought of is like a dad leaving his daughter at college for the first time. Like, if you need anything, like this is here, I'm dropping this all off, whatever. I'm just like a phone call away, like that kind of attitude of
right, that's
whatever.
Really sweet. Okay.
He says, because I understand this is we don't belong here. This could be a very wild and dangerous place. You showed me photos of saber-tooth cats and we've seen woolly mammoths and there's dire wolves probably roaming about and all sorts of other megafauna that it'd be best to avoid altogether. But again, as long as you stay here by the cave, should only be a moment. But I will be back as soon as possible.
Yeah, see you in a flash, Doc.
So he opens up the other side. Einstein jumps in, and it's he just sort of gives you another look and like a knowing nod as he closes the door, and he lifts off and takes off into the sky, and it gets like further and further up and away and just clear. It's just the oddest freaking thing to see from your perspective down here on the ground, and yeah.
So I'm a big believer in ask for forgiveness, not permission. I'm going to do something right now that I've been wanting to do since I fucking got to this cave that I know Doc would freak the fuck out about. So I'm going to take a sooty stick from the fire and I'm going to write...
I'm shaking my head because that's exactly what Doc would be like, what the fuck? But go ahead, do what you're doing.
I don't expect I'm going to get too far into this, but I don't know if I'll write the full Kate was here. I'll just write like some innocuous runes that happen to appear like the letter K followed by an 8 in pretty large letters towards the back of the cave where he and maybe no one will ever notice.
So I'll say that you did hear him. It was way off in the distance. You did hear it go, so he is gone. And with that, you wait. So you take your time. You go off. You want to into the cave. You do that.
He said 60 seconds. I figure I've got no time whatsoever.
So either way, you take that moment to do that.
Like, finally. Like, if I can't be a time-traveling graffiti artist, like, what's the fucking point?
So, I hope this is the correct sound. But like, it's really, it must be like 60 seconds later. As he come through, and he just, up in the sky, comes in for a landing. He seemed a little bit further away from like where you guys originally arrived, but he lands right back down in front of the cave, opens up, and he's wearing cleaner, like he's clean and pressed, and he looks good. He looks refreshed. He's got the yellow long coat. He's the futuristic gear that he wore before, but he's obviously been cleaned and ready to go. Einstein's not with him, and he says, "Kate, you're still here, right?"
I call it back out from the cave. Yeah, and I dust the soot off of my hands, and I walk up. Hey, Doc, how long has it been since I've seen you?
Several days for me, and it's been
no time whatsoever.
Then the time circuit should be working perfectly. I think we're good to go. If let's load up. Let's get out of here.
All right, I gather the things, and we're gone. I hope.
So with that, you guys can load up. You get in, and you take off. You're ready to get the hell out of here, and So he says, all right, let's prepare for temporal displacement, and hits the gas. He's already put in the date. And, of course, you guys head off to 2016.
Thanks for listening to Kate Was Here. To support this and other surprise RPG experiences, head to patreon.com/omniverse media.